Officials at Hawaii Volcanoes National Park are bracing for crowds eager to get a glimpse of lava fountaining from an eruption. The eruption that began December 23 in a crater at the summit of Kilauea Volcano has paused periodically. According to Associated Press, it resumed Wednesday morning as a small and sluggish flow and then increased into a fountain that appeared to be 200 feet high, the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory said. The Hawaiian Volcano Observatory says its possible fountain heights will increase as more gas-rich lava erupts. Hawaii Volcanoes National Park encompasses the summits of two of the world's most active volcanoes, Kilauea and Mauna Loa. The eruption is visible from many public overlooks in the park. The lava is not posing a hazard to homes or infrastructure. In a 2-for-1 moonshot, SpaceX launched a pair of lunar landers Wednesday for US and Japanese companies looking to jumpstart business on Earth's dusty sidekick. The two landers rocketed away in the middle of the night from NASA's Kennedy Space Center, the latest in a stream of private spacecraft aiming for the moon. They shared the ride to save money, taking separate roundabout routes for the months-long journey. They were launched on board a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. It's take two for the Tokyo-based Espace, whose first lander crashed into the moon 2 years ago. This time, it has a rover on board with a scoop to gather up lunar dirt for study and plans to test potential food and water sources for future explorers. Lunar newcomer Texas-based Firefly Aerospace is flying 10 experiments for NASA, including a vacuum to gather dirt, a drill to measure the temperature below the surface, and a device that could be used by future moonwalkers to keep the sharp, abrasive particles off their spacesuits and equipment. Firefly's Blue Ghost, named after a species of U.S. southeastern fireflies, should reach the moon first. The 6-foot, 6 inches tall lander will attempt a touchdown in early March at Mare Crisium, a volcanic plain in the northern latitudes. The slightly bigger Space lander named Resilience will take 4 to 5 months to get there, targeting a touchdown in late May or early June at Mare Frigoris, even farther north on the moon's near side.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff. Go Firefly, go iSpace, go Falcon.
Vehicles pitching downrange. Supersonic.
We'll be moving horizontally, and that helps the vehicle get into orbit and avoid being pulled back down to Earth. And we are coming up on max Q. This is the largest structural load that the vehicle will see during ascent. That prepares the vehicle for stage separation. That's when the first and second stages separate from each other, and the first stage will begin to make its way back down to Earth, while the second stage carries the payloads and continues with its journey with SES-1, or second stage engine start 1, MECO, stage separation, and SES-1 in just about 20 seconds from now.
Stage separation confirmed.
And ignition.
great views. We watched as we shut down those 9 Merlin M1D engines, stage separation, and now you can see there on your screen that MVAC engine has ignited.
Russia is using foreigners, lured or tricked into fighting in Ukraine, while the Kremlin is spreading a narrative that it is leading a broad coalition of countries fighting in Ukraine against American imperialism. Political rights. The publication notes that due to heavy losses at the front, Russia is trying to actively attract foreigners to its army. Although it has had some success in this, it is barely enough to plug some holes. However, foreigners do not give a decisive impetus in favor of Russia in this war. At the same time, the fate of the mercenaries is rather sad. As the Cuban Jog said, he was promised a huge salary by Cuban standards and a Russian passport if he signed a 1-year contract with the Russian army. For Cubans, many of whom perceive their country as an open-air prison, the promise of a second passport was perhaps the main temptation. However, the Russian promises, as always, turned out to be a deception. Now they tell us that since we are Russian citizens, we must continue to fight until the end of the war, said Jog, who is now in the Kursk region. None of the Cuban mercenaries interviewed by Politico cited ideological motives as a reason to join the Russian army. Many claimed that they were hired for work that had nothing to do with the war at all, for example, construction. At least that's what they promised, and those who consciously joined the army believed that it would really be a 1-year contract. They are using citizenship to tie us down. It looks like blackmail to me, said Cuban mercenary David, whose contract ended last summer. The Cubans also complained that the commanders took away their Cuban documents and their brand new Russian passports. Some were never given them at all. As Politico notes, while many Cubans said they were being used in rear positions to dig trenches and fortifications in Russian-occupied areas of eastern Ukraine, others were deployed on the front lines of the offensive, particularly in Kursk. As media wrote, the most famous group of foreigners participating in Russia's war of conquest against Ukraine are North Koreans. Recently, 2 of them were captured by Ukrainians, where they said they were being taken to training exercises, but suddenly found themselves at war. But the Russian army does not only employ mercenaries from the poorest countries in the world, there are also citizens of fairly rich countries. We recently reported how an Italian citizen was captured by the Ukrainian armed forces.